First of all, I would like to welcome you on behalf of management of the National Food Chain Safety Office. In my presentation, I would like to hand you a comprehensive overview from our national regulation which can help your work in the suppression of unfair market practices in the near future. On October 12, 2009, the Hungarian Parliament passed the Act 95 on the prohibition of unfair practices in the distribution of agricultural and food products without any opposition. The law came into force 1st January 2010. The purpose of the law is to regulate the marketing practices for agricultural and food products in order to provide a balanced market bargaining position, to enforce the standards of ethical business conduct, and strengthen mutual trust. Based on the designation of the Hungarian government is the National Food Chain Safety Office as the acting authority. The Hungarian National Act has two scopes. The personal scope states that the seat of the supplier or trader must be located in Hungary. The investigation can be extended on other stakeholders. Here is an opportunity for initiation of related investigation. The investigation can be conducted if one of the stakeholders falls within the scope of the Act. According to the objective scope, the investigation can be conducted if the market relationship between the parties incarnates distributor conduct, if the market relationships between the parties apply the obligation prescribed in this statutory or by the authority. The Act consists of preamble, 6 sections, and 10 paragraphs. In the general provision are the scopes of the Act and definitions. These are followed by the substantive determination of unfair trading practices. The main parts are some of the prohibited practices, regulation of contractual services, business rules, procedural rules. The most important parts of this section are ex officio proceeding, suspension of proceeding, administrative time according to the provisions of the Act, on the general rules of the administrative proceedings and services, entitlements of controls, readiness procedures. The next section is participation of interest representation organizations. Legal consequence applicable in case of infringements of the prohibition of unfair trading practices. In this part was determined the amount of fine, the payment in decisions, commitments of injunctions. And in final sections are closing provisions. In these sections it was stated that the government is authorized to designate the agricultural administration body. The Act defines 35 pretenses which are the following. Unilateral advantageous terms and conditions are listed in certain place in the law. The points indicate the number of pretenses in the sections, charging or devolving the subsequent costs which cannot be objectively verified. For example, services, bonus, absence of accounts with the supplier in 9 points. For example, special offers, the period of payments, compensations. Other unfair trading practices, for example, selling below first and or purchasing cost, selling or discriminating price. Deviations from the business rules and from their application in 5 points in this section. During the inspections ex officio that were carried out from the second half of 2010 to present days, the most common unfair trade practices are the following: fee accounted for not used service, fixed bonus from the first of February 2012 a price as a separate conduct. Product counter value paid after 30 days, discount accounts imposing higher discount rates, and long-term suppliers consent, passing the cost of actions benefiting the trader's business upon the supplier, prohibited use of background conditions. Unfair practices concerning business rules, the most common pretense of the official controls in case of requested proceedings, selling below purchase price, discriminatory pricing, prohibited use of background conditions. I would like to expose you the most commonly unfair trading practices. Under the law, is fee accounted for not used service is a sales-related activity for the final consumers, but for the supplier, it has no actual additional services, including the payment for the trader that ensure the supplier that the product will be placed at the specific placement in the trader's warehouse or store, slotting allowances, mandatory use of non-requested services, and services that don't serve the interest of the supplier. For example, in the case of family days, free calculation not proportioned to the measurement of the service or with services used. During the official investigation, the trader could not present the background contracts and the verification of performance in connection with the services. They could not prove that services were actually provided. The application of fixed bonus jogged the National Food Chain Safety Office to 31st January 2011, but based on the experience of the official controls, an amendment was enforced that clarified the definition of bonuses. The Act clarified the definition of bonuses, and the fixed bonus has been classified clearly to the unfair trading practices in 2011. The agreement regarding the progressive bonus payment is considered as fair trading conduct if the following conditions are satisfied. It is based on extra performance and realistic sales requirements. The accounting is in accordance with the specified periods defined in the conditions. The discount rate is realistic and proportional with the product's commercial properties. Fixed bonus without sales surplus performance is unfair. The sales requirements is underestimated and functions as fixed bonus until the supplier reaches the real sales traffic. More than one bonus cannot connect it to the same sales target. The advance payment at the payment of bonus is considered as unfair conduct. The trader must pay the product price to the supplier within 13 days after the product takeover. The same is true if the trader received the bill within 15 days after the product takeover, and in case of factoring and sales price. Compensation account is enforceable under delayed conditions. The incorrect bill shall be sent back within 5 days. When the bill is received 15 days after, the trader must pay in 15 days of his recipient. Payment day shall be the day when the trader account is debited. The free charge for the bank transfer charged before the payment deadline is unfair. Discount will be offered by the trader, either risking margins or the trader initiates together with the supplier. In the last case, the supplier gives an extra discount from the original price. During the discount with the supplier contract, it shall be construed as unfair trading practices if the supplier requires to contribute to any discount granted by the trader to the final consumers for a duration longer than providing such discount to consumers, or for a quality greater than originally agreed upon requesting the supplier's contribution in excess of the discount granted by the trader to final consumers. Within 30 days after the closing of a special offer, the dealer is accountable to the supplier regarding the discount. The exemption is the case of net sales revenue of 100 million Hungarian forint, retailer below. The summing up of persistently low price is equal to the sale price. Passing of costs that are serving the trader's business interest partly or wholly on the supplier directly or with the questioning of the third party. This type of cost can be the functional related cost, overheads, rentals, operation related cost, logistical contribution, business establishment, or opening related cost, so-called expensive fees. Because of the occurring additional cost due to the violation of law committed by the trader, additional cost cannot be transferred to the supplier. The trader's own brand cost procedure of testing and approval can be shared between the trader and the supplier. The quality management audit ordered by the trader directly or performed by the third party but can be shared in proportion with the supplier. Business rules and general contract conditions are mandatory to have if the trader's income was more than netto 20 billion Hungarian forint in the previous year. It is mandatory to publish and send the information to the Agricultural Administration Organization. It should be include the contents of service available, the highest fee, and the conditions of entering and leaving the scope of suppliers. The amendments must be published to send to the National Food Chain Safety Office. Our office may prohibit the trader to apply the provisions listed in the business rules. The enforcement of the product transfer cost billed by the supplier and the enforcement of consumer price below the cost price are considered as unfair distributor conduct. Exceptions: termination of activities, profile change, selling not full value goods. The exemption can be applied for 50 days and must be reported previously at the National Food Chain Safety Office. Unfair trading practices are setting the retail price charged to the final consumers of products discriminatively on the basis of the country of origin of product considered identical on the basis of their compositions and organoleptic properties. The consumer price contains the net purchase price and the margin and taxes. The sale price are determined by the purchase price of the collectively bargained product between the market participants. It is different in greatness, does not have any effect on the discriminative pricing. If it holds true, the character of and measure of the discriminative that the forming of the margin of the product originating from the different countries may only be done in the same principled extent. During the enforcement of the law was emerged such problems, because of them was necessary amendment. The definition of trader and supplier was changed. Additional new pretenses have been added to the law between 2011 and 2012. For example, selling below purchase price, progressive bonus, discriminative price, control of public health, product fee. For measure change, the amount of fine has been determined in the case of selling below the purchase price. The obligation of suspension applies only for the duration of the ongoing process of co-authority, and the parallel official controls extension of the rules concerning commitment. New elements have been introduced. Possibility request for making statements of specific data registers. Administrative penalty may be imposed upon the client. The supplier may consent for the collection order fulfillment. Definition to final consumers has been modified. The initiation of procedure can be opened based on notification or ex officio. Extended investigation can be carried out in the case of notification-based procedures if the inspectors detect an unreported violation. Investigation can be carried out at suppliers concerning collection of data. Official procedures can be closed with three types of decisions. In first, with eliminating injunction to fulfill the required commitment, product chain management fine imposing decision. In the case of small and medium-sized enterprises may apply authority warning because of violation. Legal remedy can be requested in a court procedure. The commitment is a special case of closing proceeding. The proceeding can be closed with injunction. The authority requires the fulfillment of commitments without stating in the injunction that the infringement has occurred or not. This type of injunction does not rule out that a new proceeding can be filed. Follow-up inspection control of the fulfillment of commitment, and it can be closed with termination of a follow-up inspection or with an imposition of product test supervisory fine. According to the Act, in the section legal consequence, the trader inspected may commit within 10 days, but within the time limit, the definitive decisions may not be adopted. The decisions may not be made if the commitment of the trader affected does not cover all findings of infringements, and if previously decisions were adopted, product test supervisory fine was imposed, or the infringement resulted in massive harm or damage. Before I finish, let me summarize our experience of the investigation. The National Food Chain Safety Office reached with the continuous checks and consistent implementation of this act that cleaner and more transparent relations are formed between the main stakeholders as they apply more regulated trading practices. The imposition of product test supervisory fine was significant effect to abandonment of the unfair trading practices by the traders. The law-abiding practices are improved dramatically. The suppliers courageously represent their interest in the negotiation. They fixed the differences of their opinion in writing in the contract. It could occur during the official controls that the trader paid back the offset of the improperly billed services. The selling below first and or purchasing cost drastically reduced. The law-abiding practices had improved in the case of payment deadline. The number and the value of delay of paid accounts reduced. It shortened the duration of the delay. The application of bonuses significantly improved, particularly the application of fixed bonus ceased because of the effect of official controls. The supplier does not have to pay and advance in the case of progressive bonus. The traders organize the discount in their own risk. The business rules are public, the transparency and the controlling has increased. Based on the plan of the National Food Chain Safety Office and the traders, most of the decisions were investigated at the review court of Hungary. The review court accepted, considered and justified the statement of the decision of the National Food Chain Safety Office in the judgments. The notification have increased steadily by the interest representation organization. Everyone can follow the decision, the applied sanction, the business rules and the professional materials on our websites. The traders adapt very quickly to the regulation. They lead new technique in order to maintain profit, which means the challenge for our staff. The objective of the act can be made available by consistent, regular official controls and with legislative work which can follow the change of the trading of agricultural and food products and their business operators. Thank you for your listening.